Right.
Michael R. of Easton, Pennsylvania asks, "Hi, Matt. Hope you're enjoying your Labor Day weekend." Well, not yet. That's next weekend, isn't it?
No, it's this weekend. It's Monday.
No way.
Yeah.
Everybody's going back to school on the 7th up here.
Well, my kids go back next week Tuesday, but the neighboring town went back this Monday.
Okay. Well, you parent people have gotten really weird since COVID-19, so just leave me a phone message or send me a fax telling me when Labor Day is, as far as all the parents are concerned, because they're the ones who are going to decide as far as I know.
It's...
Okay. So, sorry to interrupt there on the Labor Day weekend. Michael R. of Easton, Pennsylvania asks, and I'm going to interrupt myself to say, I'm getting ready to start Spore Bat Bark tomorrow. And thank you for the suggestion, Manly Matt, because I was just coming to the point of going, okay, time to hit the slush pile and figure out which one of these Cerebus in Hell with a question mark I want to do. And Spore Bat Bark was perfect. I don't know if you've let everybody in on where we're going with it, but I'm looking forward to working on it. And the reason I'm mentioning it now is because Michael R. of Easton, Pennsylvania will be a character in Spore versus Bat Bark.
And now he wants 10 copies signed with hen sketches, please.
Now you know why I did that. This is why we're also talking about making Margaret Liss a character in Spore Bat Bark. If there's no other way for us to build circulation on Cerebus in Hell with a question mark, we're not above exploiting and leveraging comics collector completist addictions, particularly the people who, as you say, will buy multiple copies for friends and family who'll go, why would I want this? In your fax to Matt on 24 August 22, you wrote, do I have to change? What do I have to change to take the risk stress down to zero and get everyone the same level of sketch? By the time I hit number 26, Michael R. of Easton, Pennsylvania is always number 26. I pretty much had it figured out. My question is, now that you, quote, pretty much figured it out, unquote, does this mean you found that sweet spot in your penciling and inking where you are feeling more comfortable to increase your artistic workload? Well, you're kind of talking about two different things here. Oh, and he's got a P.S. The head sketches look awesome. So happy I switched some stuff around in the Cerebus number 4, 6-7/78 and POT 8.2 Kickstarter, and got one. And we got photos incoming of me holding up proof copies that we're finally at the proof copy stage of those. Thank you. I'm glad that you think that they look awesome. Those aren't really drawings. I've tried to explain this before, and there's no real easy way to explain it. But it's just a designed. Again, as soon as I say drawing, then it's like, oh, okay, so you're doing drawing. It's like, well, no, it's a design for a drawing. I figured out here's the most picture for a buck that people will be able to get if I figure out a way to just pencil the same thing over and over again. It's a variation just because of the human element, but I know exactly what I need to do with this, with the inked heads on the individual issues. Um, that was a matter of okay, almost half of the head, or a quarter of the head, or a third of the head is going to be solid black. So consequently, I can do all of that with the Japanese brush pen. And if I move the cover around while I'm doing the solid black, so that the wrist is fully extended on that side, I can do the Wally Wood trick. I like to fill in my solid blacks and then see how much drawing I have left to do. And by the time you've got a quarter or a third of the picture blacked in, then it's a matter of just taking the Hunt 102 and doing very, very limited finished inking on the lid side, the right side of the face. What you'll be seeing over the next couple of days, or possibly even while I'm talking about this, I decided to try to do actual drawings on the uncut covers, partly so that Alfonso's still getting paid for the uncut pieces of Turtles 8.2 covers, so that we're not just wasting paper for the sake of, this has gold glitches on it. So Alfonso saw that right away when they came off the press. Don't want to staple the guts to one of these and then trim it, because we can already see that it's got a flaw in it. But no point in throwing it out. Send it over to Dave and see if there's something that he wants to do with it. What I decided to do with it was to put in Matisse, the Unknown Turtle drawings, in and around the two turtle figures in gold, and ink those, and then send those to Dagan at Waverly, and that's going to be we're trying not to have a lull in the middle of the January Turtles 8 Kickstarter, and this is one of the things we're going to be doing is Dagan will be deciding what these are going to go for, and then offering deep discounts on some of them. But wait, there's more. This is what this one would ordinarily go for, but to keep all of these eyeballs on our Kickstarter site for the entire month of January, you want to be watching constantly, especially you, Michael R., who I know is already watching constantly. And you never know that one of these that would otherwise go for, let's say, 200 might go for, I won't even say, because like I say, that's going to be up to Dagan, so that I don't have to anguish about it. Going, you sold it for how much? It's no. The idea isn't to make these a major profit center. It's to make these a major draw for eyeballs in the middle of the Kickstarter, where it would ordinarily start to sag. So getting to the wrist stress down to zero, that was I've tried figuring out what this is that's in my wrist. I mean, anytime on the rare occasions that I talk to medical professionals, I'm going, no, that's interesting what you're talking about, but I can see that what you're talking about is going to surgery, because that's what you get paid to do is surgery, and surgery you can't undo. So that would be very low on my list of priorities. And the more that we talk about the wrist, the more I realize it doesn't matter what I say to you. You've already decided what this is and what it's going to be. It was just when I was doing these pictures, which is very different from designing a picture and then just repeating that 8 or 10 times with the minimal stress. This is now all the cornering and shifting gears and moving the wrist around that I've been avoiding for the most part. And just while I was doing it, that was the first time that I thought, maybe this is like COVID-19, where, not only did they somehow change a head cold into the flu somewhere in the last 20 or 30 years. Now they're turning the flu into the Black Plague, which isn't a flu in the first place, it's just a head cold. Different people have very different opinions on that. That's my opinion, and it hasn't changed from the beginning of COVID-19. This was the first time that I thought, maybe this is a wider ranging thing where there's obviously a huge industry that has built up around carpal tunnel syndrome. And this was the first time in the last couple of days that I went, maybe this is the same kind of thing, in the same sense that they're giving a head cold the fancy name of COVID-19. This is just writer's cramp. But you can't make money off of writer's cramp, because writer's cramp is just, well, you've been using your wrist and or your fingers or whatever it is that's hurting too much, and just don't do that for a little while, and then try it again, because it's just writer's cramp. It's like, no, I don't really want to have a medical consultation with you. You have writer's cramp, unless of course you're somebody who charges thousands and thousands of dollars to operate on people's wrists, in which case you're part of the carpal tunnel syndrome industry. And it's like absolutely nothing to those people is just writer's cramp. Everything is carpal tunnel syndrome and leads to surgery or leads to very expensive therapy sessions, on and on and on and on, that are supposed to bring the wrist back into shape, and never really do. I've never really heard a success story on physical therapy for wrists, although again there's a giant industry that's sprung up around it. So far you'll see these. You might even be looking at them now. While I'm talking to you, if that gets the scans and gets them up in time for Please Hold. So these are, okay, stick with the dead hand concept, but just treat it as writer's cramp, and do what you would do with writer's cramp. Wow, I've been doing too much drawing today, so I've got writer's cramp, so I'm going to stop drawing today. So the first day I got 3 of them done. Second day I only got 1 of them done, and went, no, that'll do it for me today. I hope this doesn't mean that I've got permanent writer's cramp, which is what this always led into, was anytime I was getting any kind of pain or resistance or discomfort right in the joint, then it was like, okay, what if this becomes permanent? And it's like, well, you've been doing that for years now. Let's go, well, let's assume that this isn't permanent. It's just any given day, and I've got 30 of these uncut covers to work on, and I've done, I think, 7 or 8 so far. So it's like, well, okay, how long does it take to do 30 of them? Since I've got 7 or 8 done already, and the wrist is still, well, the hand hasn't fallen off, the wrist is still there, so so far so good. And we will see what happens with that as well on that basis. That I became a sucker for the carpal tunnel syndrome industry instead of going, well, you don't really believe in that kind of stuff anyway, so let's try. This is just writer's cramp, and just work until it starts cramping, and just assume that none of this is permanent. So over the next however long it takes me to do the 30 covers, Rolly will be scanning them when he comes in on Thursday, and then packaging them up and sending them to Dagan and emailing them to Matt, and you can watch the progress or lack of same.
So I assume you don't use the wrist brace when you're trying to do any art, correct?
Oh no, I always have it on.
Okay.
It's that's one of the things, is that I need the solidity, which that's one of the things that went away was it really feels like my hand is sort of detached from my wrist, and the wrist brace takes care of that. I did forget how long ago that was. Just a few weeks ago, tried one without the wrist brace on, and it's like, no, really not working. That whole placement problem where the line's not going where I'm putting it. It's not going too far away from where I'm putting it, but it's definitely not going where I'm putting it. Without the wrist brace, it's like, oh, it's definitely not going where I'm putting it now.
Well, and then the next question is, when it starts to cramp up, do you ice it or put heat on it or anything like that, or do you just leave it alone?
I just leave it alone because, again, that seems to me like part of the carpal tunnel syndrome industry, where if you do this, it will work, and it becomes like the global cooling versus global warming thing. It's like the planet is warming way too fast. No. It's cooling way too fast. No. It's warming. And it's like, try icing the wrist. No, don't try icing the wrist. Try keeping it warm.
Well,
it's like...
Paula had carpal tunnel surgery because she had bad carpal tunnel, like her fingers would go numb. And one of the things was, at one point, was you got to ice it for 20 minutes and then take the ice off and then, heat it for a little bit. And it kind of worked. I mean, the science of it makes sense to me of, okay, you have inflammation and it's ice to dull the pain, heat to soothe it away. So I just was asking. I mean, it's
right.
It's your wrist. I don't control it. That's just something I thought of because Paula's work gave her this heating pad, but instead of being like a regular, 1 foot by 2 foot heating pad, or it's a strip with Velcro on it that you wrap around whatever hurts and then plug in it.
Okay.
So it'd be perfect. It'd be perfect for like a wrist or an ankle or a knee or anything, And it's one of those. I'm like, well, if you are heating it, we could get you one of these heating pads, and you could try it and be like, hey, that feels a little bit better. Or the next day, the wrist doesn't hurt when you wake up.
Right. I mean, that's one of the things that's not really consistent either, because it's. I'm also going back and forth between drawing and typing, where it's definitely a lot easier typing the Kubert font than it is hand lettering stuff. But at the same time, there's a lot of Kubert font in Strange Death of Alex Raymond, depending on what I'm talking about in a given section. It's like, I can leave this out but it really is kind of interesting. So I want to include it, but that means instead of typing a section of Kubert lettering that's 3 inches long, it's going to be 5 inches long, and then I'm definitely one of those guys who has to type it wrong first, write it wrong first, and then correct it from there. Going, this is roughly what it is that I'm trying to say, but I can't really picture how it is that I want to say it. And that process can take anywhere from 20 minutes to 3 hours of until I get the text saying exactly what I wanted to say. I'm not going to get to the therapeutic part of my working day, which is the cutting stuff out and pasting up panels and pictures and images to go with the text. And it's like, well, okay, there's nothing that says that isn't writer's cramp as well. Just I know when that happens, if I'm really trying to go pedal to the metal, I'll type with both hands. If I'm going, okay, the wrist has pretty much had enough today, then I just type with the left hand, which slows me down, but sometimes that actually helps the writing. It's like, no, you have to. That's pretty good. You can slow down the pace of your writing, and you don't have to fix as much because you're thinking while you're typing just with your left hand, and you're coming up with better phrasing. Where the subordinate clause goes, it's well, okay, I've tried it at the end of the sentence, and it makes it sound like I'm saying this, and I've tried it at the beginning of the sentence, and I can live with it at the beginning of the sentence, and I put it in the middle of the sentence, and I can live with it in the middle of the sentence. So it's probably one of those two, but I don't know which one it is. And then I have to keep going back over all of the text for the page that I'm working on and just bringing fresh eyes to it each time. And sometimes I go, okay, I thought the problem was the subordinate clause, but the problem isn't the subordinate clause. The problem is the wrong noun and the wrong verb. And I don't know what the right noun and the right verb are. So now the laptop's thesaurus and dictionary are going to get a bit of a workout. It's like I'm not going to write for an extra hour in order to say, and I never use a thesaurus. It's like Grandpa's wrist only has so much time on the meter, and if it's a word that I'm looking for, it's probably going to be in the thesaurus someplace, which isn't true all of the time. You know, I use it the way that you're supposed to use it. Here's the word that that's like what I'm looking for. Here's the most dominant or most predominant word that links to it. Let's try that one. And is there a noun in this whole list that looks like what I'm looking for? And it's like, that's got a fail record that's at least as long as its success record, where it's like, well, okay, maybe the problem isn't finding the right noun. Maybe it is the subordinate clause problem. And some of them can take a while to really untangle and go, this is what I was trying to say. The part of me that wishes that I was really living backward and forward in time, so that I could go, can you just show me what this page looks like when it's done? It's like I've worked on this caption for the last hour and a half, and it's like, I never remember or recognize one that I worked on for an hour and a half, because as soon as I find what the problem is and then fix it, then it's on to the next problem. It's the same reason. Why is it always in the last place that you look? Because when you find it, you stop looking.
Yeah, that's my dad's favorite phrase.
Okay, so that's the best I can do on that one, Michael R. And